Hurricanes Rangers Game 6, Canucks Oilers Game 5 tonight here in the NHL. Guys, welcome into PuckTime, powered by WagerTalk. I'm Andrew. I have Bryan with me today to break down these two games. And Bryan, well, we continue to see it. These teams, they stay alive. They're down 3-1. We saw Carolina. We saw Boston last night, Colorado. Now it isn't just about staying alive anymore. It's about continuing and trying to force a Game 7. Welcome in, Bryan. Do you think Carolina can force a Game 7?
You know, it's interesting. We kind of talked about this a little bit before the show. Normally, I've been doing this for a really long time. Normally, if a team is up 3-0, the team that's down figures their season's over. You get a bad performance, and it's a 4-0 sweep. That hasn't worked out in the NHL, and I got to tell you, I've only been handicapped in the NHL for 7 years. I've got such a love for the players in this league. They're tough. They don't give up. You mentioned Carolina. They just looked terrible. Well, they didn't look terrible. I just couldn't get the victories early on. But it's gotten to the point where on any night, it doesn't matter what the series record is, these guys don't quit. And that's a situation we're finding in now. And the Rangers took that early lead, and they dominated Carolina last few years in regular season. They got to be feeling really good. Now they can't put them away. And they always say if you give a team a chance, they're going to take it. And you got to knock them down and keep them down. The Rangers haven't been able to do that. This Carolina team has shown a lot of heart. And even though the Rangers match up very well against them, Carolina actually, I believe, in the series so far has outscored them by a goal so far in this series. So it could go either way. And anytime a series is going like that, I have to take a look at the underdog. If you can give me plus money with two teams that are matched up as well as these two are, that's the side I'm looking to take in this one.
It makes a lot of sense to me, Bryan. I mean, look, we can tip our hats. We can show the respect, as you just did, to Carolina for these teams that are coming back and not quitting, not going out without a fight. But as you mentioned, now it's a numbers game. Now it's looking at the numbers and saying, all right, maybe they were down 3-1. They were in it in all the games. Like, that's one thing, Bryan, about this series compared to some other series maybe. There hasn't been one blowout throughout this series, really, right? They've all been tight. They've all been close. New York just had that extra edge over the first handful of games. Now it's been Carolina getting that late third period goal, getting the overtime goal. I mean, they were down at one point and they scored, I believe it was, 2 or 3 unanswered goals to get them the victory there, the kind of team that they are. But as you mentioned, looking at the price here, I'm seeing at DraftKings minus 166 is what DraftKings is showing. We're seeing plus 140 the other way. Over 5.5 is shaded towards the under in this game. And you know what? The New York Rangers have been a good road team, actually, in the playoffs and throughout the regular season as well. They were a good road team. Of course, MSG is a great place to play in. Carolina, of course, we know they've been scoring goals, but guess what? The last time they played their games at home against Carolina didn't go very well. They're supposed to be a team with a great, great home ice advantage. They did not prove that when they were playing at home the last time around. So they've earned the right to come back and play a home game. We'll see how they play. But, one thing I like, Bryan, is when you don't have to lay chalk on a total. A lot of times when you see a total you like in the NHL, it's 6.5 over minus 120, 125, 5.5s. They're always over minus 120, 125. Today, I have the opportunity to bet some places plus 105 on the over 5.5 here in this one. I believe the Stars come out to play in this one. I think that we've got two good goaltenders, especially Shesterkin. Whether the Rangers win or the Hurricanes win, I believe we will see goals here. And the Hurricanes have to have some confidence. They've scored some goals over the past couple of games. They scored some goals late, different types of goals, power play goals, 5-on-5 goals, attacking the net, shots from the outside. And what I've noticed big time too, both teams have their defensemen really helping out, creating a part of the offense. And so when we see all these highlight reel saves from, Shesterkin and Anderson, you could have a series like, let's put it this way. Last night, the Colorado and Dallas game, maybe one or two tough goals, I guess, for the goaltenders. But I think overall, anybody that watched that game would agree there were still some magnificent saves made in that game, Brian, even though the game soared over the total. Some great, great saves, but the game still went over. So the fact is, elimination game, whether the favorite or the underdog, whether the team's leading or not wins this game, I think we get over 5.5 here. I've seen a lot of goals from both teams over the past couple of games. And the thing is, a lot of the goals have been coming late in the games. So if I can even get a couple early ones, Brian, I feel like I'm sitting pretty here with a 5.5 and something. All the WagerTalk live viewers, the WagerTalk, the PuckTime here, people know I've been chirping this New York team because they win games off power play goals. They've scored 5-on-5 goals, but the games they do the best in are when they score power play goals. Carolina's finally started scoring some power play goals, but they still have the worst power play, I believe, in the playoffs of the teams that are still out there. So, we get one or two power play goals, get a couple goals in the third period as well. I think we can get over 5.5, but I will say, to be completely transparent, I think I mentioned this to you the other day. I have a play with clients plus 120 on the Hurricanes that I released after game one. So I've just kind of been suffering through this here, just waiting. So I see no point in me jumping in on the side, Brian. You already know who I'm cheering for here. I need a miracle comeback right now.
Yeah, I like your thought process. You talked about with your backs to the wall, elimination game. That means if Carolina is losing this game, they're pulling that goalie early. And that's something, if you're playing the over, is the way to take a look at it. I was, in looking at the numbers here, you've got the Rangers at 2.5, slightly to the under. I think the Rangers over 2.5 is a pretty good bet because you're not really laying any price. As was said earlier, that this is a game that it's all coming down to the wire. So I could see that happening.
It could be a great team totals game, that's for sure. And when you get these 5.5s and the over is plus money, typically means you're going to get some great prices, of course, on those team totals. And, with the Rangers being the dog, you're going to get a great price on that. So I do think they find their offense. I do think the winner of this game tonight, Brian, scores at least 4 goals. I'll put that out there. I think we can get the over tonight in this one. I don't really have any player props for this game, actually, guys. I have some for the next game we'll discuss. Brian, I know you don't really do much with the player props, right? Is there anything else you wanted to add to this game, or we're all good? Move on.
No, I think we've covered it pretty well.
Sounds good. And for anybody out there looking at some futures right now, it's interesting because Carolina is the favorite in this game. Right. They're the favorite in this game, but they're plus 200 to win the series. So if you're interested in that, you can look at the series price right now. Rangers minus 240. Current prices to win the Stanley Cup. Carolina Hurricanes 10-1. If you believe that Carolina could win tonight and could force a game 7, it might not be a bad idea to put 10-1 in your pocket on the Carolina Hurricanes. I'll tell you what, guys, that 10-1 price will not be there in a few days if they go ahead and win this game tonight and force a game 7. Of course, the Rangers, they're 5-1. Then you've got Dallas, and then Florida Panthers are leading the way as the favorites. All right, guys, let's get that live chat bumping. Love the comments yesterday on the show from all of you. I posed the question to all of you. I said McKinnon over 1.5 points or McKinnon over 4.5 shots on goal. Guys, it was the points that hit. It was an assist and a goal, giving him 2 points. But it goes to show, over 4.5 shots, even for a great, great, great scorer like McKinnon, it's hard in a playoff game for one guy to get 5 shots. So keep in mind, even though it might sound kind of crazy playing a guy to get 2 points in a playoff game, 5 shots also hard to come by tonight. So today's episode, guys, leave a comment below. Will the Rangers finish the series off, or do the Hurricanes stay alive? We want to know. We're going to check back after the show. You guys comment below. Let us know what you think. Subscribe to our channel. Hit the like button on YouTube here. You can find both Brian and myself at wagertalk.com. Okay, Brian, there's been so much said about this Western Canadian series, whether it's just been the goaltending battle, the goaltending switch from Skinner to Pickard in Edmonton, Vancouver, Rick Tocchet, who I think is a great coach, calling out. He said we've got 12 players not playing up to their expectations. Pettersson has been called out by his coach. He hasn't been keeping any secrets. He's been very straightforward with his team. But now the Oilers, road favorites in this one, after barely scraping by and winning that last game. What do you have for us as the series returns to Vancouver?
Yeah, that was an exciting game. I happened to be watching that one, and then it looks like Edmonton has it in the bag, and then Vancouver scores that goal. And then right afterwards, not long after that, the Oilers get the game-winning goal. And it would have been a shame for the Oilers to lose that game because they had dominated. In fact, since game one that Vancouver wins, Vancouver, I think, was a better team in the opening game. But since that time, Edmonton's been the better team in my regard. And this line is telling you that they expect Edmonton to get to victory here. It's not often that you've got a team in the home dog role like Vancouver is in this situation. The team's tied up 2-2. Vancouver is clearly the underdog in the series. In fact, if you take a look at the best of seven, it's got Edmonton's anywhere from like a 180 to a $2 favorite to win it. And this is the key game for Vancouver. They have to have this one, obviously. Don't want to fall behind 3-2 and then have to go back to Edmonton. And I'd mentioned how well that the Oilers have played the last three games. If you take a look at the Money Puck website, and they have the deserve to win meter, and they also have the expected goals, it's been all Edmonton lately. And I expect that to continue a little bit here. The number's a little bit cheap in my regard. It opened at 145. It's stayed that way a couple places, but I'm looking here in Vegas at Circa, which is in the sports book at the Westgate Superbook. They're in the 134, 135 range. Those, along with South Point, also 135, are the sharpest books here in Vegas. And so they're taking some money here on Vancouver. They think Vancouver has a chance, but I prefer the Edmonton side here. It's hard to turn it on and turn it off. And when Vancouver got that tying goal, it looked like they started to believe a little bit, and then like a minute later, they lose the game. That's a heartbreaker. If you lose the game that you're trailing the entire time, that's one thing. But you get a chance to come back and tie it and then blow it again, that is going to hurt them moving forward. I like the Edmonton side here. Not normally a guy who plays road favorites in this price range, but as I mentioned, if you take a look at the numbers, they've dominated. I'm talking 78 to 85% deserve to win in those games on Money Puck. So that's something I like to take a look at. And when you take a look at the Edmonton side, yes, they almost blew that game. And so they have to be walking out there like, we still didn't play well, and we were able to get that victory. I like the Edmonton side here. I think that's the way to go in this one. And Vancouver's a team that has really overperformed their metrics pretty much all season long. Hats off to Vancouver. But I think this is the night that Edmonton dominates the entire game and gets that victory.
All right, looking towards the Edmonton side in this one. Brian, I like using that website as well. I just think that there's great information there. It really kind of lets you know about how the game went, the script, but also it lets you know about how individual players are doing and learn line combos and such. And I think that really helps you with your handicapping. I couldn't believe this, but did you hear JT Miller apparently texted his coach at night after the game and apologized for his play? He said, I should have blocked that shot at the end. I should have got in the way of it. I should have blocked the pass over there. I mean, that's playoff hockey for you. These guys take it so personal. I mean, the game yesterday, Colorado looked like they were fighting for their lives in the Stanley Cup Finals, let alone it being in the second round. It was really intense. But, you know, I said this the other day on the show, and I mean no disrespect to this for Shelovs, because he has been unbelievable as a third stringer. And personally, I think that even if Thatcher Demko is ready, I know he's the number one guy. You got to keep going with Shelovs unless he loses tonight in a bad way. You take a look at some of the losses. Like here's the deal here, Brian. I mean, the Canucks lost the game, but up until 36 seconds left in the game, Shilov's only gave up 2 goals. So, I mean, in this series, he's been very respectable. He's performed well. But to your point, are we almost to that tipping point? Are we going to get that game tonight that the Oilers have been waiting for? You know, where they put up a 4 or 5 spot like it's nobody's business, because we haven't seen that yet out of them. And you know what's interesting is there's only been 2 times this entire postseason the Oilers have scored fewer than 4 goals. The funny thing is they've won both those games. There's been many losses for them where they've scored 4 goals, actually. But there's been 2 times where they scored 1 goal and 3 goals was the last game, and they win those games. I was saying on the last show that I'm not convinced really that teams like Edmonton or even teams like Colorado can win games unless they're scoring 4 goals. So hats off to them for scoring with 3 goals, get that late one with 36 seconds left. But I mean, the question is still there with the depth. That's the main thing for this Oilers team. They need the secondary guys to perform, and they kind of got that last game. Sure, Draisaitl played well. He scored again on the power play, but they got a lot of production from the secondary guys. If you don't have McDavid carrying the way, I talk about the same debate as McKinnon yesterday. Over 4.5 shots or 3.5 shots for McDavid, or would you guys rather bet him over 1.5 points? Because I know for me, I would much rather take him over 1.5 points. The guy is more of a passer than a shooter. McDavid will shoot the puck, but I got exactly 4 shots. I needed over 3.5 for my client play last time out, and it worked out well. It was like 5 minutes to go, and they got a power play, and I got my last shot. I mean, the shot props can be very stressful, Brian. But where I'm going with this is I like the over in this game as well, actually. I think both games go over tonight. It's great to see the Oilers won a low-scoring game, but to your point, for the Canucks to play the way that they played, for them to still get a couple goals on the board, and it was kind of that new goalie theory, right? Like, I hope Pickard plays well for the Oilers. Maybe some of those bad rebounds he let out, the Canucks score on. Maybe the fact that he's not in front of his home crowd this time, it's a little bit different for him. He's got to go on the road now for this playoff game. And this guy, he's he's an older goalie. It's not like he's a young guy, but it's his first playoff experience, right? So I think both games tonight go over the total, Brian. I really do. I think we see goals here. As much as I think Vancouver is more the defensive team and they're going to try and win low scoring, I think they have no choice against this. If the Oilers can prove they can win a low scoring game and a high scoring game, then the Canucks are going to, they're going to have to win, I think, by scoring a handful of goals as well. Looking at a few props here, I was interested in looking at Brock Besser points. The number is a little bit juicy, but it's worth it. He's got a point in 8 of his last 10 games. Connor Garland's been playing really, really well. You look toward the over for him for points or even shots. Small guy, but really feisty. He works well in the corners. He's always shooting the puck. One of those guys that doesn't always try and pick the corner, just puts the puck on net. And defensemen are actually playing really well for the Oilers. Matthias Ekholm, assist props or point props. I didn't know this guy had that much offensive upside to him, but apparently he does, as he's been getting on the board, whether it's been assists or goals. But that's all I have for this game. Brian, sometimes I get worried. We're not supposed to think like this, but sometimes I get worried if I like both games in one night under or both games in one night over. I mean, they're completely 2 different things, but you just don't, it messes with your head sometimes. But I think we get goals tonight, man.
Yeah, the way I look at it is, Edmonton, when they made the coaching change, they played really good defense for a pretty good amount of the season. So they are able to win in low-scoring games. And you mentioned Vancouver. I think the only way Vancouver wins is in low-scoring games in this series because they just don't have the firepower that Edmonton does. But as we talked about when I was on the show 2 days ago, Edmonton just doesn't have the depth, which means the better players have to play longer, which means the farther they go in the playoffs, the worse it's going to be for Edmonton. And that's what it sucks as being an Edmonton fan, is because even if you win the next series, you're in the same boat as you were in earlier. And at this point in the playoffs, all these teams, for the most part, have 4 good lines. And so it's going to be very physical as you go on. So even though I think Edmonton wins tonight, if they do advance in this series, it's tough to back. It's tough to back them when they're playing teams that just get very physical. And when you see it during the regular season, you have a chance to, you'll play a physical team and then you won't. But when you get into the playoffs, it's all physical. And the longer the series goes, the more physical it is. So that's my concern about the Oilers. But yeah, these are two teams that I've been very impressed by Vancouver all season long. The Knights have been knocked out. That's my local team. I'd love to see Vancouver.
Mhm.
I think they're a nice story. I'd love to see them advance, but unfortunately, in this game tonight, I'll be on the other side.
They are a great story, and I think that they've gotten behind this story, and they've gotten behind a good goaltender, and they do have a good mixture of players that are built for the playoffs. But as you mentioned, Brian, one thing I find so funny is that if the Edmonton Oilers even get one goal that's not from their top 3 or 4 players, what a world of a difference of a game that is for them. I mean, it's just if you're Connor McDavid and you get a goal from Warren Fogle or Ryan McLeod or one of those guys, you can take the biggest breath of like exhale on the bench, being like, wow, so now we only need to score 3 goals for us to win. Like, if Holloway scores or Kane scores, then that way Draisaitl, Hyman, those guys, they don't have to worry about scoring all the goals. And that's the thing, is that if this is the game that happens tonight, Brian, I think you're exactly right. I think Edmonton gets the job done. I don't think Vancouver goes down without a fight tonight, though, which is why I do like the over. I wouldn't be shocked to see a 5-2, 5-3 finish here for the Oilers. But these West Coast series, we've been seeing lots of goals, lots of action. It seems to me the East Coast series have been a lot more goaltending, a lot more defense. And like I mentioned yesterday, Georgiev, good goalie. Ottinger, fantastic goalie. That game still soars over the total. And we know how important the power plays are in both these series. I'll remind people at home, this Edmonton team right now, number 1 in the playoffs, 47% on the playoffs, on the power play. That's unbelievable. It's crazy. If you send them to the power play pretty much every second time, they are making you pay and they are capitalizing. It's unbelievable, Brian. But 2 great games. We look forward to it. Hopefully some great results. You can find both of our plays, of course, as I mentioned, at WagerTalk. But it's also baseball season and all kinds of stuff going on here, Brian. So what do you have going on for your customers?
Yeah, we only had baseball yesterday. A nice 3-2 day. I've got a 4% going in Major League Baseball. It's my total of the week. And I also have a 3% in the NHL. You can grab those both right now. We do have that special going for our hockey for the rest of the playoffs. So we've got great deals out there for that. Baseball is really coming around as of late. And even though I don't handicap the WNBA, another sport we can take advantage of. We got some really good handicappers on the site that do that. I follow the games, I watch the games, but I don't handicap the games. So a lot of good ways to make some money. And they announced the NFL schedule just was announced, so you get excited about that. So a lot of sports on the way, a lot of sports going on right now, and I love playoff. I love the NBA. I love hockey. And you mentioned earlier talking about teams coming back. How about those Denver Nuggets down 0-2? I believe I was at the South Point the other day, and they had an 8-1 to win it all. And I was just about to play it, just didn't get there, didn't get to the window, and now here they are, 3-2. Moving on again if they could beat Minnesota tonight. So these are some good teams in the playoffs, and they have the ability to really turn it on. And we'll see what happens tonight.
Great stuff, Brian. Always love doing shows with you, breaking down these games. Hopefully we can find some winners. And you mentioned the Nuggets being down 2-0. You've done segments before on Wager Talk today and PuckTime. We've talked a lot about live betting. And I was saying to a friend of mine that I actually think that live betting might be more profitable in the playoffs for different sports than it might be during the regular season. And a simple reason being, I believe, is that there's too many games to focus on in the regular season. And every team has a bad game in the regular season and a night off, a game that this guy's not shooting well, this guy's not skating well. But yesterday, for example, look, I don't bet the NBA every night. I follow it. I release a handful of plays. I'm very low volume with it. I pick my spots. But I mean, the closing number was 15.5, I believe, on the Celtics. I got them 7.5 live. I mean, if you're looking at certain games like that, yesterday, Colorado hasn't scored the first goal all series long against the Stars. You could have gotten plus 250, plus 300 on the Avalanche to win. The game ended with, what was it? I think 7 or 8 goals yesterday. The live total was 5.5 plus money at one point in the first period. There's so many different ways to go with live betting. But what do you think about that thought process, Brian? Almost like when people think you should be the most careful, I kind of disagree. I think there's actually more money to be made sometimes in the postseason than there is in the regular season.
Yeah, I could see that also. Not everybody's going to have their best game at the right time and when you expect them to. You can definitely tell a lot more. I mean, you got all the preparation before the games, and then you just watch a game early, and a lot of times you could tell if a team just doesn't have the energy, and that's something we could take advantage of. I love betting baseball in live betting because you've got so many of the pitchers in Major League Baseball, they can go out and they could, be great one day and terrible the next, and it's so hard to handicap those. But once you start watching a game, and if the other team is getting hits, but they're getting soft bloopers and that kind of thing, it still comes off as a hit. You don't know if you're not watching that game. You don't know how hard that the ball was hit or where it was hit. So by watching games in especially in baseball, you can take advantage of that because if a guy's just getting a little bit unlucky, little bloopers and things like that, soft liners, things like that, you could take advantage of that. Whereas people who aren't watching it are just assuming those are solid singles. So something I like to do is playing the Major League Baseball live.
I love it. And guys, you can get Brian's half season, full season for the MLB, whatever you want, over at his homepage. Of course, the rest of the NHL or NBA playoffs. And for myself, off a pretty good day 2 days ago was a 7-1 day. Yesterday was 1-2, but we're riding out some serious bets right now. We'll try and keep things going. That CFL package is still available, guys. 3 straight profitable CFL seasons, 10-2, long-term 5% run in the CFL. Get the early bird special in the CFL, Canadian football. Throw in the NHL season at no added cost. You can get that. Or if you want some short-term plays, use the promo code SCORE7 to get 7 days at less than $10 a day. That's all sports. So, guys, let's make some money. Let's cash some tickets on the ice tonight. Look forward to hearing from all of you guys in the comments section below. Appreciate you being here as always. But for now, we'll see you next time right here on PuckTime.